What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916 getting down with Fresh Out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Go to freshoutseries.com, pick you up some merch, and sign up to be a member so you don't miss out on any of the stuff we have going on. I'm here with my man Danny Navarro. We kicking up some game, giving you guys a dope prison talk, and we were just chopping it up about how crime right now is basically out of control, man. I mean, literally, it's turned San Francisco into no man's land. And even out here in LA, you know, it used to be certain places where certain things didn't go down, but now it's like, dude, it's a free for all. And I was telling Danny that they're playing a long game because everything now has been glorified at a level beyond what we used to see growing up. I remember, you know, I would see a dude, you know, maybe when I was 15, 16 in a cutlass, you know, hella swole with some lokes on, a do-rag, you know, oh, that dude, he just got out of, you know, Folsom, or homeboy just got out of San Quentin, and you'd be like, oh, you know, you're hustling, you're thinking, oh, man, that's a G right there, blah, 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 and how that impacts your mind program, your thought process, rather than seeing a guy in a Jaguar, you know, a doctor who just graduated from Berkeley, thinking, wow, man, Berkeley, I never thought about going to Berkeley. Maybe I'd be a doctor, maybe I'd be a lawyer. So the game right now, because of social media and the programming and the no bail, not to say that, you know, everybody should be locked up for a nonviolent offense, but the free-for-all mentality is destroying our youth, man. Danny, what do you have to say about that, bro?
It's just real sad. It's just real sad because, like you said, like, I mean, even if I go back to when I was growing up, we glorified committing crimes, we glorified the gangs, we glorified, you know, breaking the law, and like you said, talking about the guy in the cutlass, like you looked up to people that were in prison because that's all you know, because you're in this little box, you know, growing up.
Did you ever consider getting involved in like business or real estate prior to going to prison? Were you ever exposed to anybody who was CEO? You know,
I didn't even know what real estate was.
You know what? I didn't really. I knew a little bit. I didn't really know a whole lot, but I remember when I was 14 or 13, and I've talked about this before. I came up with a company. I called it Fidu. But even before that, I came up with Fidu, which is for everyday use. I used to look at the side of boxes on the shoes, and I would write them and try to design shoes to get on. Because back then there was no, you know, you didn't have no other way, and there was like no internet. So I'm like, man, maybe I can design shoes and make a lot of money and get rich. But it's like, you know, I fantasized about getting out this environment, but I didn't know how to do it. And now with all the resources, these kids, you know, some of them are taking advantage of them, but a lot of them, because they think it's cooler to be in the streets, they're throwing their lives away, bro.
Yeah, there's nothing cool about being in the streets, committing crime, going to prison. And not only that, the ripple effect from selling drugs, hurting people stuck on drugs, you know, the crime, the people, the family, our family, what I put my mom through, what my parents through, my brothers, you know, there's so much ripple effect from all this criminal stuff, and they glorify it, and it's just so sad. But going back to your question, like, you know, I didn't know any better. I don't want to say I didn't know any better. I just wasn't around the right environment, because at that age, I did glorify it. Did glorify the drugs selling, and you know, I didn't know, like, all they said is like, hey, well, you get a good job, work a county job or something like that, or, you know, you sell drugs. And then at that time, selling drugs like was up here. Like, I just fantasized about being like the best drug dealer, having the nice car, having the women, partying out. That's what I glorified at 16, 15.
You know, that's the same thing. Like, you know, I tell you, like, for us, it was like, what was it? Cars, money, bitches. Yeah. That was, you know, that's it. Balling. Get some D's on your shit. Get some 15s in the trunk. You balling. You know, you get in shape. I mean, I was always into working out, so I'm like, man, you know, getting your money on, having the females, you're clowning, you got the beat, you know, you're hanging out.
Top and of the world.
Extended. You're top of the world. You know, basically what these guys are, you know, trying to live out now. But like you said, I never thought about like the whole business aspect, or setting up LLCs or S corps, or you know, tax shelters, or you know, I remember one time my math teacher, he brought one of those old brick phones in the class, and he looked in the paper and he was showing us about stocks. But that was so foreign to me. I'm like, damn, what is he doing? He called and made a trade. And back then you had to call like Merrill Lynch or one of these brokerage houses to do trades, where now you could just get on your phone with Robinhood and just trade.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you said, exposure is so big, man. And I just think that, like, you know, the news and some of these major media outlets act like they're, you know, doing a justice or reporting this stuff. I think they're showing it to be so cool, and kids are thinking like this is the way to go. Like those kids who had the high-speed chase out here in LA, 12 years old, one of them was young as 12, and remember when he was getting arrested, he threw a gang sign.
Throwing a bunch, yeah, seen that. And then guess what? All over TikTok, all over Instagram, and glorifying it, like, you know, it's the thing to do. Like jail's the thing to do, and breaking the law and stealing cars. It's just, it's sad.
I seen a video after that where he was at the bar shop, and they're like, oh, this is the dude who was in the high-speed chase, and he sit back like he's a G.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm like, God, man, that's the wrong message, man.
Exactly.
That's the wrong message, because you'll catch one of these cases, and then it'll be like all that fun, it knocks the wind out of you because you think it's a game until they give you one of those football numbers.
I thought it was a game. You know, I didn't understand the severity of my crime. Like, it was conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. At that time, like, there was a judge, his daughter that died from meth. So they went hard on meth in the early 2000s. I didn't know any better. I wasn't on drugs. I just wanted, selling. I didn't know the severity. So when the DEA was following me, I would laugh about it. Like, I'll go to jail 2 years. They're like, no, when I got arrested, right, when they put me out in front of my patio, they're like, oh, man, you're going to go to jail for a long time. I'm like, no, I'm not. Stubborn, ego. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah, you're going to the feds. And I'm like, nah. I thought it was a game. I got 120 months. That was a deal. And like, when I was in there too, they're like, oh, that was normal. Like normal was.
Yeah, people weren't even tripping like
normal.
You're short timing, Dan.
Yeah. And guys were in there 20, 30 years. Like, it was serious.
And then as you did your time, because you were in there, you said like 2004?
2004.
And then see, I was in there I got cracked in 2000, so I started seeing it. But like you said, they were rounding dudes up 30, 40. And people think like, back in the day, you remember like people didn't talk about what gangs there were on camera. Remember, there wasn't no gangbanging rap. It wasn't none of that.
Yeah.
But then once they started making it like, oh, it's cool, pop culture, people started exposing more of themselves and tell them they just started using that, and they just started rounding dudes up. And those gangs, tell them there's an enhancement with all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that federal system is designed to, it's designed to, like, I don't want to say ruin lives, but it's just like it's going to give you a lot of time, and that's what it's for. Like I've seen, like with all the enhancements, I had an enhancement, so I had a little GTA charge. So with that little GTA, I couldn't get anything less than the 120 months, and my charge didn't allow me to get less than anything. And it was nuts. But I didn't, it's just that I thought it was a game. That was fun. It was cool, selling drugs, being in the street, partying.
And the trade-off too for that, I tell them, like you mentioned it earlier about how it affected you, like your mom, your brother, your sister, the ripple effect. I didn't think about it because I was kind of selfish. Like my little sister, my little brother, my mom, my grandmother, everybody else who looked up to me, or people who I had a role in their life, how all that was stripped. And then, luckily I didn't have any kids, but if you have a kid and you're gone for that long, that kid already at that point has built up a certain mentality.
Yep.
Because you're not around them enough. And so when you come out, like all that's already kind of damaged. So it's like, there's so many other things that are impacted by you getting locked up that people don't think about. And when they go and they round these people up, even though some of these guys might not have been the best role models, they might have been able to stop some other kids from getting into what they got into. But when they round all those dudes up, now there's nobody to tell them kids on the street not to do that. So they're doing the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we did. It's and you're talking, like, I remember, man, like I'd seen these guys 30 years, like getting out from like the Freeway Ricky days, like back when the crack, and I'd seen them come out like 30 years later, like. You don't. It's a
whole nother world.
Yeah,
man.
You don't know what you don't know, right? Like, because you're going in this world, and you're like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, and you're like, what the heck? It was a nightmare, man. it was very hard. When I got sentenced, the judge talked to me for like an hour and lectured me, and like was trying to like lecture me on how to do time, because I was like hard to understand that this was going to be my life for the next. I was like 10 years. I'm like, I'm lucky if I get out in 10 years, because you never know what's going to happen.
What you got to do.
And luckily I got out a little less than that, but I was already like, okay, I'm 18, I'm going to be 28 years old. That's it. That's the mindset that was going in, because I didn't know what I would expect, but it was very hard to say, hey, to take the 10 years. It was tough.
Yeah, I know. And 120, when I get my 120 months, and I'm thinking like, damn, and I didn't have, pretty much when I got locked up, I didn't have anything else left, and the female I was with boned out. I'm doing, I got to do the time. You can't do, like I said, you can't do your time over the phone. You got to figure out how to handle your business, and it's a lot of mental growing up. And I tell people that even at 24, I didn't really know shit. You think you know stuff like these kids, oh man, and now they're thinking kids younger than 18. No, you don't know shit. I didn't really come into my own until I really got in there and started really talking to some guys. I'm like, damn, there was so much I was missing from the world. Even though I had already been to junior college, I had, graduated high school, did this, certain things, but there's a lot of things I didn't know. And when you get around some OGs who really have time to sit down, they read and they start lacing you up, you're like, damn, man, I really don't know shit.
Yeah, and then a lot would tell me like, hey man, you got when you get out, you have a second chance. Like I'm not coming home. Get out. Like when you have those talks one-on-one with guys, and they're like, yeah man, hey, you're gonna be 30, you're gonna get out, you're gonna have a second chance. You're gonna be able to live your life the right way. Because most of them, they're not coming home.
Yeah.
And one book that really changed my life, 2.5 years into my sentence. Met this guy out of New York, man, because in the federal you get a little bit of people from all over, right? This guy is this big drug dealer, right? But he was just like into clubs and everything. And he threw this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and that was a game changer for me.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I read that.
That just changed my mindset, and it helped me do my time, and it changed my thinking, my thoughts. So like every day, it was like, how am I going to get better?
Yeah.
How am I going to get better? How am I going to get better?
Yeah, that's one of the things, people always ask me about books that had an impact. And I read that book. I read, what's the other one? Remember Devil?
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I read that one. And then I read Conversations with God.
Yeah.
That helped me out a lot. I read a lot of the things about like congressional acts, a lot of legal stuff. And I would just sit back and I would meditate on that stuff, like thinking like, damn, man, why couldn't I have got this game on the street?
Oh, my
man, I sit around, dude, because like you said, I'd have like sleepless nights, and then you think you about to go to sleep, and then you wake up, and then you hear the doors click, and you're like, damn, I'm still in here.
Yeah.
And it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every day, same shit.
Yeah.
Same shit, and you're like, man, when it's gonna end, man? And
having dinner at 3 p.m., hearing the little cart come in, and taking a shower maybe once a week. You have to shower out of the toilet, like, bird bath. Like, it's like shit, but going back to that book, like I give that book, I go and do all, I buy a lot of them, give them in there, and I'm like, man, if I can change one life, one life.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to help everybody. And there's a lot of people, in prison, it's a very strong program. And I always tell people, it's like, I felt like I was blessed because it's like being a lone wolf, and then you see another wolf somewhere, and you guys hook up, and then the wolves, you guys are, going through your journey, trying to survive. And in prison, you got to try to, find somebody that, hopefully you can get some good conversation with, and you can not get caught up in the bullshit, because it's such a strong magnet. And when you don't really hang out with a lot of key people, you can get ostracized in there. And ostracized in prison is different than on the street. In prison, dudes might just try to feel some kind of way because they don't have nothing else to live for.
Exactly.
So it's a lot different than on the street. You could just block somebody's number.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
So, I tell people all the time, especially when I talk to youngsters, man, they're like, hey, man, I'm trying to, go through this and go through that. I said, before you get caught up, one of the biggest things you can do, and I learned, majority of this in prison, is your association on the street. pay attention to who you socialize with, because it will have the greatest impact on you. You could be hella smart, this and that, but your association is so impactful, you know, because you're conversating, you're sharing energy with people. And so, you know, if you're sharing energy with people and you guys are constantly reiterating just very low frequency thoughts, that stuff it's gonna poison your soul. It's gonna poison your spirit and your conscious. So, you know, you got to be careful of what you speak into an existence, you know, because that becomes your reality.
I agree. You know, and I could say that now, but back then didn't know any better.
No, I didn't know either.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know either. I mean, I wasn't even on that type of page. I'm just, you know, you listen to music, you're doing stuff, and really, it's almost like today. I told like these people I would say like emotional storms. You know, as soon as something happened, they don't even think about it. They just react, and then afterwards, like, damn, you know, you didn't think about how many choices you have. Mm-hmm. It's like when you go to do something, you're like, you don't just have two. You have millions of variables that you can do outside of robbing, beating this guy up, or going over here, hanging out with this dude, picking that up, doing this, sleeping with that girl. There's all these options, but in your mind, you're like, oh man, I got to do this, I got to do that. You don't have to. And when we realize we have unlimited options, our whole life changes.
Exactly.
Because we're programmed through school, through our neighborhoods to only have a certain amount of options. And that's the thing, is we have multiple options, man.
100%. I mean, to be here today, right, is a blessing, because like to the way I'm living my life, like I can't even tell you, like it's just like it's a blessing. First of all, it's 100% blessing, but like I still pinch myself to see like, man, what I was able to do, you know, when I got out, because the options, right? And not only that, you talked about like projecting the mindset and the thinking, like visualizing what I want and seeing it happen. Like everything in my life that I'm at today is because it came in a thought in my head that physically manifested. You know, everything. Mm-hmm. My work, my wife, my house, everything.
Hey, there you have it. Big Herc 916, fresh out, getting down with Danny Navarro. You tired of smelling like stanky butt, funky armpits? Wash your ass. Go to FreshOutSeries.com and pick you up a bar of soap.